I am in the United States and specifically in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is between Philadelphia and New York. Don't let the name Girl Travel Tours fool you. We welcome everyone on our tours, not just girls. I started leading physical tours with EF Tours as a Girl Scout leader, which I took girls and their family and friends on international destinations each summer. I have expanded my travel program to include adult-only tours. I use EF Go-Ahead Tours and many other tour operators to do this. But since we're unable to travel physically for the most part, that led me to virtual tours. There's a couple of reasons why I started these virtual tours way back in May of 2020 when COVID hit. I really wanted to support the tour director community during this time of travel restrictions where they were not able to work at all. And I really wanted to keep the excitement of travel alive for my travel group and extend that opportunity to those of you who've learned about us through Facebook, friends, family, and other means. We've done more than 50 tours since COVID. If you'd like to access the recordings of any of them, they're available on my website, girltraveltours.com. There is a virtual tour drop-down menu, and you can access all of the different locations through there. You can also see them on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. And we have several more tours planned for the upcoming months. I have listed on this slide all of the tours that we're going to be doing to roll out 2021. We have Victoria Falls, Easter Island, the Great Barrier Reef and Queensland, Costa Rica, Sicily, Northern Spain, Bethlehem, and a Christmas markets tour. Check back as we add new destinations for our list of 2022 tours. As long as you're interested in viewing these virtual tour presentations, we will continue to produce them for you. I know that many of you have found me on Facebook and many of you are live right now on Facebook. And I'll just throw out another warning. If you paid for this tour on Facebook to attend on Zoom, you did that through an illegal site. We do not charge for attendance on these tours, and no one should have paid to access the tour. You can always safely access our events through my website, which is girltraveltours.com. Or you can watch live stream on Facebook at no charge. If you choose to tip, it is up to you to tip as the program goes along, but there should be no charge to access the tour. Just be careful and tell your friends so that nobody gets caught up in the scams. Okay, I want to review a few things and a few ways for you to interact with us during the event. Feel free to ask questions to the tour guide or to me that you would like to be read off and addressed as part of the presentation after in the Q&A section. If you'd like to just chat with me, feel free to do that under the chat or in the in the comments section of Facebook. And as always, we have an interactive poll to get us started tonight. And essentially, we're going to ask, tell us about yourself and tell us what your connection is to this region where the Trans-Siberian Express goes through. So we're talking about the Trans-Siberian Express, which goes through Russia, Mongolia, and China. Have you been on if you have been on such a train, you can hit us up in the comments, or you can just answer the poll, which is, I've been to some of these regions and loved it. I have a trip booked. I plan to go in the future. I have no set plans, but I'm interested in the location, or I am solely here to experience it virtually. I'm going to let you go for a couple minutes to answer this poll so that we get a good representation of the audience. I want to thank everybody for signing up for this tour. We know that it was a late entry, and we appreciate the fact that you were able to join us today. So thanks a lot. I'm going to end the poll and share the results. It looks like most people have no set plans, but they're interested in the location. And there is always a wonderful amount of people that are here just to experience it virtually, so welcome. If you have been to the location and the region and you've loved it, I can't wait to have you share in the chat things that you've loved along the way. And especially if you plan to go in the future, you can share with us with which aspects and which locations, and we could do our best to help you get a little bit of education about those places. Okay. So if you still see the poll up, you can hit the little button on the top left to get it down, and then you should be able to see the slide again. So today's tour and all of our tours are scheduled for 90 minutes plus a Q&A. So please get ready with a snack, a drink, or anything that you need to get through the next 90 minutes. And as always, a tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour director. We're lucky to have back Georgiana to fill a spot for us tonight, as our tour guide for Northern Spain is not feeling well right now, but his tour was rescheduled for December 14th. So if you did sign up for his tour, please know that you will get you'll get a notice to come back on December 14th. And I'll share with you via chat and in the Q&A how you can tip the tour director. If you appreciate this presentation or the experiences from the guides, you can feel free to tip along the way. And as I said, today we're lucky to have back Georgiana, who has been with us before for many tours. She's joining us today from Bucharest, Romania, to share her journey on the Trans-Siberian Express. And if you're ready, Georgiana, you can join me and I will hand over the event to you. Welcome.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mara. It's good evening for me. I hope it's good evening for you too, or maybe for some of you, it's good morning. It's so good to see you again. And do let me know in chat if you've seen me last week. So my name is Georgiana. I am a Romanian tour guide. And I've done several tours with Mara in the past, virtual tours. One of my most successful virtual tour was Murder on the Orient Express. And I do have a passion for trains, for epic train rides around the world. So I said that the Trans-Siberian Express sounds like a great idea to run a tour of virtually. So I see some of you, recognize me. So I'm so happy to hear that. And I am going to share my screen now and start the presentation for tonight. Okay. So tonight's tour is a journey on the Trans-Siberian Railway. I would like to share with you some of its history, and we are also going to take a ride together on the Trans-Siberian Railway and do stop along the ways and do visit virtually the cities that we see on the way. And these are also stops that you can take by yourselves. Now, some people will take the Trans-Siberian. If you want to go all the way from Moscow to straight to Beijing, it can take around 7 days. A different way of doing the Trans-Siberian is to stop in each city, visit the city for a day or two, and then hop on again the Trans-Siberian and continue the journey. But of course, you need a lot more time to do so, as we'll learn together further on. So we will start with a little bit of the history. And you have here a map of the Trans-Siberian Railway. But maybe some of you have never heard of the Trans-Siberian Railway before. So let's see what exactly is it. So this is has been known by many names. So the Trans-Siberian Railway, Trans-Siberian Express, the Great Siberian Way. The Great Siberian Way, it's its historical name. It's a well-equipped rail track across the continent that connects European Russia to Far East Asia. Right, it connects its largest industrial areas. It connects the capital's country, Moscow, to other important capital countries like Beijing or Mongolia. And it's one of the longest railway lines in the world. It has a length of over 9,289 kilometers. That's almost 6,000 miles. And Moscow, it's the largest city in Europe, right? So it starts in Moscow. In Russia, it goes all the way until Vladivostok, and then it continues on. So as you can see, it spreads out, it branches out in different other railways. So after you cross the bigger part, so the Siberian, after you cross the Siberian region and you reach the Baikal Lake, then you have several options. The one that we're going to take tonight is towards Mongolia and China. But of course, there are other ways to end up in China. So basically, the Trans-Siberian Railroad connects two parts of the world. It passes the territory of 20 subjects and 5 federal districts of the Russian Federation. It covers, the Russian part of the train covers 19% of the total length of the railway against 81% that belongs to the Asian part. Now, the Trans-Siberian Railroad history started more than a century ago. It's no surprise that the issue of building such a long-distance railroad across the Russian vast expanses was quite hard. Just imagine that at the end of the 19th century, the vast areas of Siberia and the Far East still remained fairly isolated from the European part and from the Russian Empire, meaning that organizing that path, allowing to get from one part of the country to the other one, was done very, very hard. And the expenses of building a railway was a big deal, and it became a priority for the government of the time. The isolation of the Asian territories was a problem. This scared St. Petersburg, because they've heard of Chinese plans of also building a railway, and that's when they started really planning the Trans-Siberian Railroad. So it was a little bit of a peer pressure from China's side. We have here Emperor Alexander III of Russia. He is the one that first designated the plans and put them in practice for the Trans-Siberian Railroad. Now we have Emperor Nicholas II of Russia. He is the one that completed the Trans-Siberian construction. The official start date of the construction was May 31st, 1891, when he laid the first stone of the Ussuri Railway near Vladivostok. Since then, the grand construction started all across the country. So I have here a drawing from 1891, when you see Nicholas II laying the first stone of the Great Siberian Railway. And they decided that they will build the railway line in 3 stages. They wanted to complete the construction in 10 years. Do remember that they did face the pressure from the Chinese government, and they didn't want them to start building or to finish the construction before they did. This is the kind of landscape that the constructors had to deal with. Hilly landscapes, frozen grounds, swamps, cold weather, very turbulent rivers, primitive equipment. The materials were hard to come by. These are just to name a few. And of course, the complete isolation of the places that they needed to build in. Of course, the most problematic issue that they faced was that they didn't have enough human resources. They needed skilled workers to satisfy the needs for construction and for building. And they started bringing them in from central regions of the country. A large part of the builders were soldiers and exiled prisoners transferred to the Far East as punishment. You can imagine the territories were so isolated, right? It was something that you did not want to happen to you. And as a parallel, this is something that normally happened in communist Romania too. Whenever our great dictator had a massive construction plan, he just took all the prisoners and the soldiers and put them in there. And they feared that because they knew it meant certain death. The replenishment of the workforce also came at the expense of attracting Siberian peasants and locals. And just to put the scale in figures, about 10,000 people were employed in the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railroad for its first steps. And as you can see, they were pretty much cutting down the forest, laying down the track. And it ended up needing 90,000 people in the end. The human losses were just as impressive. They estimated that thousands of people have lost their lives. The picture that you're looking at here is just people dancing, of course, because they had to bring in people from all across Russia. A mixture of cultures did meet on the construction site. So it wasn't all dark and gloomy. The railway and the process of its construction played a crucial role in the socio-economic development of the Russian Far East. Just 5 years after the construction of the railroad began, the cargo turnover of the Vladivostok port increased by more than 30 times. A significant amount of the imported goods were meant for the construction of the railroad itself. And with the commissioning of a railway track from the Pacific to the Ural Mountains, Vladivostok became the sea gate for a transcontinental railway. Now, the current state of the railroad, this is by far one of the most amazing and large-scale projects undertaken, not only in Russia, but I would say in the whole world, especially for its time. So even after 100 years, the railway still serves its original purpose, to connect Europe to Asia. And this is Rossiya train. This train made its first trip in 1966. So if you were to take the Trans-Siberian today, of course, you would not go on the train that's 100 years old. They have done some restorations to it, and they've introduced newer trains. This one, his first trip was in 1966. It departs from Yaroslavsky train station in Moscow, and after it crosses 2 continents and 6 time zones, it arrives in Vladivostok 6 days later, right, if it goes straight. The train stops in approximately 90 cities. So its striking colors are the 3-color white, blue, and red bands. Most of this is what decorates the train cars, the Rossiya train car. And the week-long journey has become highly favored among adventure seekers, tourists, and even locals go today on the same train, and that's the appeal of the Trans-Siberian Express. But of course, if riding second or third class is not necessarily your way, of course, there have been private trains and luxury trains installed on the same road. So because the Rossiya train is recognized as a tourist train first and foremost, and it receives mostly English-speaking people, then the meals are also included in the tickets price. So we have, especially only for the first and the second class, sorry. The first and the second class has clean restrooms. It has new fixtures, and as you can see, the bed looks quite nice. The train itself has the first class, second class, and the third class. The third class mostly preferred by the locals. First class compartments have 2 lower berths. Each are 70 centimeters wide. Every cabin has a TV. It has sockets, and the doors are equipped with access control system. So you're completely safe. No one's going to interrupt your sleep at night. They do provide bed linen. They provide a personal hygiene kit, and magazines are included also. Very fancy. It's a very fancy ride. This is an example of a second class compartment. So you can already see the difference from the first class one. This compartment has 4 berths, 2 lower and 2 upper. The second class are available with or without, tickets are available with or without meals included, but they still have TV, they do have sockets, and they still have the control system installed. So still very, very secure. And of course, they will provide the bed linen. Now, this is a group of people, travelers, right, as you would expect, riding on the second class. And do notice the guy on the left, he is holding a traditional coffee cup. So on the train, you will get coffee service. You will be given this mug. You pay, I think, $1, and you have all you can drink coffee or tea whenever you want it. And the third class, as I said, not preferred necessarily by most of the tourists, but by YouTubers that want to experience the adventure, the real adventure on the Trans-Siberian. It's an open carriage. It doesn't have any closed compartments. It has 54 sleeping berths arranged in 2 levels. So it is definitely an experience for a lifetime. These are some of the people that you might meet on the third class compartment. And of course, it's always good fun. Just to give you an example of what we expect from the toilets aboard the train, they come with a small wash basin. They are located at each end of the car. There's no shower aboard, which is why we recommend breaking your train journey and, stay in the city for a couple of days, then go back on the train again if you want to shower. Of course, as I've mentioned, there are luxury options that do include shower on the compartments. Then this is the dining car. Of course, it has red curtains. The red is the predominant color. It has a very nice dining car. It has a special menu for its passenger. It's open 24/7. So whenever you need to have a coffee or anything like that, the dining car is open for you. And it does offer a wide selection of traditional Russian food and drinks. If you are a vegetarian, they do cater for vegetarian. They do offer a baby menu upon requests. And it is important to note that they can only take cash. So don't expect any ATMs. I don't know if something has changed in the past 2 years, but before the pandemic, that was the norm. If you're traveling in the first class compartment, you can order food from the restaurant and it will be delivered to your cabin. So I've included an example of the menu that you will receive in the restaurant. As you can see, you do have English translation. Food is pretty basic, and here you have the prices as well. An interesting fact that the Trans-Siberian is known for is that the train conductors are likely to be women. And they're likely to be women who rule their carriage like a private fiefdom, including the vital issue of toilet access. Most of the time, however, they're lovely ladies. They're happy to assist with clueless foreigners, and they have no problem in getting their hands dirty if there's any necessity. And another interesting aspect is whenever you stop in a train station, as I've mentioned before, you will stop in 90 different cities. There are people with small food stalls in between train cars that sell pretty much everything from dried fish, dried salted fish, to sweets, to everything that, a snack or whatever the restaurant does not offer. So I do have a video to share with you. If it is in English, so it's a documentary done on the Trans-Siberian. And I will stop talking so that you can hear the voice. Do let me know if you hear it properly or if I should turn it up a little bit.
It's 1:30 p.m. at the Yaroslavsky train station in Moscow. The train number 2, the famous Trans-Siberian Express, is about to leave for Vladivostok. A one-week journey across the world's largest country that gives us a unique opportunity to discover.
Volume up. Okay, I will fix this issue in a second.
Russia off the beaten path.
Just give me a second. Is it better now?
Trans-Siberian Express is a train like no other, a legend. It's the longest rail line in the world, almost 9,300 kilometers across Ural and Siberia. It is the pride of Russia. For Angelika Podobina, it's an honor, almost a privilege to work on board.
Still can't understand the words a bit more. Unfortunately, the video is it's maximum.
This train is a part of our history. I'm a patriot, and I'm really proud to work on this train, the train number 1.
Pet project of Tsar Alexander III, the Trans-Siberian Railway was completed in the early 20th century. It was a daunting task, but was key to establishing Moscow's sovereignty over resource-rich Siberia. It became the backbone of modern Russia. For many world travelers, the Trans-Siberian is the stuff dreams are made of. Natalie and Dean Smart have always had a thing for trains. They just got married. And this is how they're spending their honeymoon.
Something we've both always wanted to do. It kind of just got bigger and bigger from there as we started to talk about it, hasn't it?
It's a mode of travel we really enjoy, but equally it's, you know, there's others. It's about going over land, really, isn't it?
She's a Brit, he's an Aussie, and together they've decided to travel from London to Sydney by train, a 20,000-kilometer journey, 14 countries in 4 months.
It's the journey, isn't it? So, and that's the exciting part. The destinations are amazing, but sometimes it's the journey, and that's what the train's all about. The train's about the journey.
But for Angelika Padobina, riding the train is no holiday. She's responsible for the passengers' comfort and safety. She leaves home for 15-day stretches. More than a job, it's a calling, a way of life.
You get used to it. You end up having 2 parallel lives, one at home and one here on the train. I love my job. I love to communicate with people. It brings a lot of satisfaction.
From dusk till dawn, Angela scrubs and cleans the carriage, welcomes passengers, provides blankets and pillows, and, most importantly, makes sure there's always hot water for tea.
It's a tradition to drink tea all road long. Tea is a liquid that connects people, not only vodka.
Boris Pieterikov has also got a thing for trains. He rides one whenever possible. Russian trains aren't known for being very fast, but that, he says, is exactly what makes them so lovable.
I don't like fast trains. Train is a really perfect place to think about your life, about your business things, or about how your life is going.
Time on the Trans-Siberian Express appears frozen. The train crosses 7 different time zones. To kill time, Dean and Natalie brought games and books. They also write a blog to share their everyday life on the train. Comfort on board is a relative concept. For instance, there's no shower here, even in first-class carriage. All travelers can count on is a tap like this one. And in case you wonder, there's no hot water. The train makes a few dozen stops on the way. Each one is a good opportunity for travelers to stretch their legs and stock up on local food.
Croissants by the looks of things. Yeah, vegetables and stuff inside. Right?
It's quite tasty.
Very good. How's been your journey so far?
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been lots of fun. You know, different people coming in and out of the cabin and down in the dining cart. All the locals getting involved as well. So
It's just a brilliant opportunity to meet different people that you might not normally come across. So.
Meeting new people is an essential part of train travel. It's also the best way to kill time, whether in first or second-class coaches, or in the tail-end wagon, the third class, called Platskart. An open-space carriage many here enjoy, and not just because it's cheap.
I like to communicate with people, and when I talk to people, my ways become shorter, so I enjoy speaking.
The dining car is also very popular, always open. This is the place where travelers meet, eat, and drink, and where tongues loosen up. Tatiana Balendina runs the show here. Over the years, she's heard more than a few life stories, more than a few secrets.
People tell us things they can't tell anyone else because they know they'll never see us again. Men complain about their wives mostly. We end up knowing a lot about them.
Natalie and Dean's journey through Russia is nearly over. Next step, Mongolia, Then China. New countries, new trains, new challenges. But for Tatiana and Angelica, the journey doesn't stop. For them, life on board the Trans-Siberian Express is never ending. A life made of departures and arrivals, of passengers who come and go all along this legendary railroad, this train like no other. Jean-François Bélanger, CBC News, on board the train.
I'm so sorry if you had any problems hearing the sound. It was 100%, so I was maximum sound for me. Maybe you hear me a little bit louder than you've heard the video itself. It's just how it was done. So it was filmed in a much softer sound. Do turn up your sound if you cannot hear it. I did my best. I did turn mine maximum. So you did, hopefully this video gave you a little bit of a taste of what the Trans-Siberian Railway is about, and just every day, not every day, but just a regular experience of travelers aboard the train, staying either in first class or the second class compartment. But do know that you do have the option of private luxury trains. So for example, not the Rossiya train, this time I'm going to show you the Zarengold is a private train. It belongs to a company called Ulaanbaatar. This is Europe's #1 travel company for exclusive worldwide private train charters. So it does have this crimson color with the yellow stripes. And this is a standard cabin that you will find inside. As you can see on both sides, left and right, there are 2 berths, one on top of the other, each of them sized at about 27 inches by 74 inches. So that's around 70 centimeters to 190 centimeters in length. In the middle, you'll find a table, and combined toilet and lavatory compartments are located at each end of the car. So this was the standard cabin. Now we're going towards the classic cabin. So we do offer more types of cabin this time. In the classic category, we do have 9 compartments per car. This can be shared by 2 guests. The beds are approximately the same as the standard one. There's a table under the window. And again, the lavatory is located at the end of the car. But in every second car, this time you'll find a shower compartment. After the classic cabin, they do offer a superior cabin. These are newly refurbished category 2 superior cabins. It does have a nostalgic look. So all the cabins on the Zarengold do keep that nostalgic Soviet look. They do have lower beds. This time the beds are a little bit shorter, just by 3 centimeters. And the 9 compartments in the wagon share 2 combination wash and toilet facilities located at each of its ends. Depending on the train configuration, a shower facility is shared by guests from 2 to 4 sleeping cars. Then we have the nostalgic cabin. And this one does look like you would imagine a Soviet cabin looks like, right, when you think of Russia. This cabin offers the opportunity to truly travel in the style of the Red Tsars. It's a nostalgic ambience that would even make past Soviet leaders feel like home. But here you get all the 21st century modern amenities. As you can see, there's an armchair with a table included. It does have only 1 bed here. So you do have, and it also offers its own toilet and wash next inside the cabin. And then we have the Bolshoi cabin. Do comment in chat if you know what Bolshoi means. This category of compartment, with its name, it does offer a lot of space, right? So it has 60 square feet of space in a train cabin. It has 2 beds. The biggest that are available in in the cabins that we've presented so far. And it offers comfortable seating. You do see the armchair next to the table, a generous size table this time. It does have a small closet, clothes closet, and it has its own lavatory with toilet and with an integrated shower If you see the shower here, let me point. Yeah, this is an integrated shower. Sometimes you have a curtain. Sometimes if you want to go for the upgraded, you do have a built-in. So this configuration only has 6 compartments. They say that the Trans-Siberian Railway is the train that served as inspiration for the Polar Express. And on your private train, do expect classic Russian fare. They combine, potatoes, cabbage, tomatoes, fish, and meat. It does look a little bit more lavish than the other dining car that we've seen in the video previously. Coffee service, of course. And these are just a few images of the food that you'll be served on board. Tarragol does offer 42 meals in total across the journey. So because breakfast, lunch, and dinner is included, all of the meals are included in the price, and they do offer culinary specialties, from Russia, Mongolia, and from China. Mineral water, juices are all included, and everything is sourced from local markets, and it's prepared daily, fresh daily. You do see the red caviar here, but since 2008, it's no longer served. Because its sales are now forbidden in Russia. The sturgeon is actually facing extinction. The red caviar comes from the sturgeon, and so they do serve red caviar now, and black caviar is no longer. I was confused. Black caviar is the one that is no longer served. This is a typical appetizer with red caviar. So the waiter will come all throughout the table and serve everyone from it. And of course, you do have your Russian vodka. So vodka is a drink that accompanies Russians through all the ups and downs of life. Russia produces hundreds of different types of brands of vodka. And of course, on board of the Tarragol, of the gold train, you will find the difference in these types of vodka. You will learn about the famous and authentic Russian vodka that's 80 proof. And you will have lots of vodka tastings. And you do know, maybe you've heard of it, but in Russia, beer is actually considered soda. So everything that's under 7% alcohol, it's in its category of sodas, right? So even like what Europeans consider strong beer, right? 7% beer, it's quite strong. It's not that strong for the Russians. And I think it must be the cold weather. If we do have any Russians among us, do let us know if this is true or not. One of the amenities that they do offer on the train is several meals. So for example, you can either have picnic on Lake Baikal. If the night is warm, your dinner will be served as a picnic on the shores of the lake, or you can have a barbecue, just like you see in the photo, or you can just have a Mongolian picnic in a yurt. This is followed by a demonstration of Mongolian horsemanship, the traditional wrestling matches that they normally do. You can try lamb milk if you feel adventurous. This is a culinary treat in Mongolia. Or you can always try kumis, or fermented mare's milk. I think that you really need to be courageous to try that. They call this fermented milk the beer of the nomads.
Конечно, сложность здесь очень много. По сравнению, вы сами видите, кухня очень маленькая, а народу тоже много. Тяжело в обслуживании. Здесь много особенностей во всем, во всей работе. Отдельно ничего не сказать не могу. Вот видите, падает.
Right. So hopefully these two videos have given you a comparison between the two types of experiences that you can have aboard the Trans-Siberian Express, right? So one is the regular one, the one that's open to that locals also go on just for regular business purposes. And the other one, it's a luxury experience that 100% of the times is reserved for tourists, of course. I don't feel locals go and take the Tsar and Gold just because they need to get from A to B, right? It's just an experience in itself. So we're back to our map because we are about to start our journey aboard the Trans-Siberian Railway. So this time we are going to stop in each of the cities that you can visit, and I will tell you a little bit about each town and what you can see in it. What are the main attractions? So I will not go into full details because we don't have the time necessary for this, but just to give you a taste of what you can do. As I've mentioned, you are free to stop, spend a couple of days, and see more if you want to. So we are going to visit 6 different cities tonight. We are starting in Moscow. And of course, you will start at the Yaroslavsky railway station because that's where the Trans-Siberian departs from. This is one of the 9 railway stations located in Moscow. It is situated in a very popular square from the city, and it has the highest passenger input from all of the 9 train stations. And here we have a beautiful panorama of the city of Moscow. This is the largest city in Russia. It is its capital city, of course, and it is the largest metropolitan area in Europe. It has a population of over 10 million. 10 million is the total population of Greece, for example, and it has served as the capital of the Soviet Union, the Russian Empire, and the Grand Duchy of Moscow. Moscow, of course, has a very tumultuous history, and it dates back to medieval times when it was founded by Prince Yuri Dolgoruki. You have a photo of Prince Yuri in here. He was known as Yuri of long arms. He was known for the length of its arms, and he was ruling in the early 12th century. So sorry. Of course, throughout the ages, Moscow has seen numerous invasions, sieges from the Mongols to the Poles, to the Lithuanians, to the Crimean Tatars, to Napoleon, of course, and finally the Nazis. But it has persevered, and today is a thriving city. Of course, it has the cold weather on its side. And one of the most beautiful locations that you can visit while in Moscow is the Hermitage Museum. So Hermitage Museum is the 2nd largest art museum in the world. It is the 2nd after the Louvre in Paris, France, and it was established in 1764 by Empress Catherine the Great. Of course, you will find all sorts of art in here, from Egyptian antiquities to Renaissance art to Dutch to Flemish. We can even do a full virtual tour dedicated to the Hermitage Museum. We're not going to do this here. The second location that's worth visiting, definitely worth visiting in Moscow, and it's probably one of the more, it's the top place to visit. It's called St. Basil's Cathedral. This is very famous among the locals as well. It's one of the crucial landmarks located in the heart of the Red Square. This cathedral dates back to the 16th century. And of course, it's a visual treat. Its intricate architectural details are what's striking, are its striking features. And you've probably seen it in 99% of the pictures. If you Google Russia, this is probably what's going to come up. So you see in the background the St. Basil's Cathedral, but this is the Red Square. The Red Square is what separates the royal citadel of Kremlin to the ancient merchant quartier which is called Kitai Gorod. This is one of the more interesting places. Lots of historical events have happened in here, and it bears the weight of Russia's history. It's not just an attraction. A lot of people, Russian people, do identify themselves in their heart and their soul to the Red Square. It is a symbol of the whole country, if you want. And of course, maybe you've seen it before. This is the Kremlin. This is the home in which all of the tourist sites reside. It encompasses Moscow's most famous sightseeing attraction. You have the royal residence of the President of Russia. You have breathtaking views over the river Moscow, located at the bottom of the building. And this city is actually the heart, the center of political affairs, as well as a very strong economical power in Russia today. You can definitely feel the energy while walking, the energy of the streets while walking around it. And there's always something to see and something to do in Moscow. And if you've ever been to Moscow, do let me know in chat, and do let me know what you enjoyed the most. And here I have a photo of Yaroslav, less known location. It's one of Russia's oldest cities, and it is considered the capital of the Golden Ring. We will talk about the Golden Ring in a second. This city was founded in 1010 by Prince Yaroslav the Wise, and it became the first Russian city ever founded on the river Volga. It is, of course, famous for its churches, and its historical center is part of the UNESCO World Heritage today. So I did mention the Golden Ring, right? So we've started in Moscow. This is where the Trans-Siberian departed from. And the first city that you see after you leave from Moscow is Yaroslav, the one that we've seen. The Golden Ring, so let me turn on my pointer here. The Golden Ring unites a chain of ancient towns that lie on the northeast of, to the north and east of Moscow. There are many interesting ancient Russian cities and towns all along the way. They're full of history and unique Russian architecture that dates back to the 12th, all the way until the 17th century. But to see all the others, you would have to go out of your Trans-Siberian way, so to say. So Yaroslav is the one that you'll be able to see and to stop into. From Moscow, we travel further to Yekaterinburg. But on our way to Yekaterinburg, there's another place that I want to tell you about, and that is Kazan. Small details here. This is the capital of the Republic of Tatarstan. It is truly a city where the west meets the east. And what you see here is actually a mosque that stands, and this mosque stands very close to a Grand Orthodox cathedral in the city's white stones Kremlin. This is the 6th largest city in Russia. And they do say that is the 3rd capital of Russia after Moscow and St. Petersburg, of course. This is part of the fact that it's partly due to the fact that it was a capital in itself of the Tatar Khanate before, and then it was conquered by Ivan the Terrible. So now it's completely part of Russia and incorporated into the country. This is a portrait of Ivan the Terrible. Maybe you have seen his photo before. And after Kazan, you arrive in Yekaterinburg. This city was founded in 1723. It was named after Catherine the Great. Catherine the Great, or Empress Catherine the First, was the wife of the Tsar Peter the Great. And she was an amazing woman. She has done some really, really important things for Russia and for its history. And she was a lover of art, and she was very well involved into the political scene. And you can find out more about her if you go on a walking tour of this city. One of the more important landmarks of Yekaterinburg is the Church of All Saints. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned, so you know that Russia is an Orthodox country, and Orthodox churches like to be very opulent. So you might have noticed that the churches that I did show you so far have either very intricate architectural details, or they do have these golden, very shiny domes on top. And that's because they're also a symbol of status. Religion and the church has always played a very powerful role in Orthodox countries and in not former communist countries, but for example, in Russia, religion is very important. In Romania, religion is very important. And it was always involved in the local political scene. And it is the same way in Russia too. So we have here a photo of the Romanovs. Maybe they are Russia's most famous royal family. You do notice Tsar Nikolai II. We've talked about him at the beginning. He is the one that started the construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway. Along his side, you have his wife, of course, their children. And unfortunately, you've probably heard of their story, their tragic story. They were executed by the Bolsheviks at the Ipatiev house, where they were held prisoners. I am going to show you a photo of this house. So pretty much with their assassination, that's when Russia became a full-on Soviet country. And you can visit this house today. And another interesting location is the Boris Yeltsin Presidential Center. Now, maybe you have heard or you haven't heard, but Boris Yeltsin was definitely Russia's most interesting president. Interesting in the sense that he always had a very bubbly appearance on TV or on the news. It was also Russia's first president, right after the Soviet period. And I remember seeing him on the news all the time. It was a show just to watch him. So after Yekaterinburg, we are going towards the third city on our journey, and that is Krasnoyarsk. Or if you want to do it in a full Russian accent, is Krasnoyarsk. Let's locate ourselves on the map. So we started in Moscow, passed through Yekaterinburg, and we travel all the day on the train, enjoying the Siberian countryside, right? We will spend about 19 hours on the train, moving through through Siberia, through its taiga, and through its rivers. The route to Novosibirsk, well, Novosibirsk is here, right? So it's the town, the only town in between Yekaterinburg and Krasnoyarsk. So the only civilization that you'll find across the taiga. Will pass to many smaller villages and locations. And it will also pass through Tyumen, which is considered the oil capital of Russia. But for the most part, you will be traveling through the forest. So just to talk a little bit about the natural side of Siberia, the Siberian taiga, you have here the West Siberian region and the East Siberian region, right? The West Siberian covers, it's considered an eco-region. It stretches from the Ural Mountains in the west all the way to the Yenisei River. Now I know we will talk about these places later, and you can get to see their names in writing. And it is a very vast, very flat and lowland region of forests, of the taiga forest. Of course, it covers a lot of wetlands, and 40% of the region is swamps here in the West Siberian region. The East Siberian region is mostly covered in the taiga forest and lesser regions of swamps. This is just a typical autumn panorama of the Siberian taiga. And this is, of course, not an actual photo. It's just a drawing for you to understand the type of fauna found inside Siberia. So, of course, this region contains the highest number of brown bears, and you can find wolves, you can find moose, of course, foxes, wild reindeer, rabbits, pretty much everything that you would expect to find in this type of climate. Of course, they do have eagles, they do have grouses, capercailles. Let me know, which region are you from? Do you have any of the faunas that you see here in this drawing in your region where you're from? For example, in where I'm from, we do have a very large population of brown bears as well. Another interesting location in Novosibirsk is the rail bridge. This bridge crosses the Ob River, right? One of the rivers located along the railway. And unfortunately, this river has an island, Nazino Island, known for its tragedies. It's known for a mass deportation of 6,000 people during the Soviet Union. They were deported by the Soviet Union in 1933. They were forced to live here in the small desolated island and to construct a special settlement. They were abandoned with only flour for food, little in the way of tools, clothing, or shelter. And of course, those who attempted to leave were killed on the spot. The conditions of the island left them with widespread disease. They started being violent to one another. They started eating other people. So there were news of cannibalism happening between them, of course, if they were left without food. And within 13 weeks, over 4,000 of the deportees have died or disappeared. The majority of the survivors, right? So from the remaining 2,000 were very ill and in poor health, and they ended up dying short time afterwards. Numerous gruesome incidents of cannibalism were reported. So many, in fact, that locals came to call it Cannibal Island or the Island of Death. Normally, after people got their rations, they ran to get water, mix it with flour in their hats, and they just ate it. There was no time to actually cook the food. Many people did eat the flour just as it was, and because it was just powder, they would suffocate from breathing the flour itself. And they ended up eating each other just because of desperation. And at this point, it was just survival instinct. And it was a tragedy. According to a Soviet document, there were only 2,000 survivors out of the 6,000 sent there. But only 300 remained at the end. They were deemed fit to still work. Of course, after this incident, the government tried to cover it up, tried to pretend it never happened. There were some investigations, but in the end, it all went under the cover. This whole affair, so it was started in 1933. It was virtually unknown of until 1988, when an investigation started. It was called Memorial during the Glasnost reforms in the Soviet Union. And the events were actually popularized in 2002 when reports of a September 1933 special commissions by the Communist Party were published by this particular movie called Memorial. This is a photo from present. Different sides in the area do commemorate the events from 1933, and every June ceremony is held both on the island and in the town of Nazino in honor of the victims. From this photo, do admire the costume of the priest. This is a typical Orthodox priest costume. These are several photos taken by Karl de Keyser for Magnum Photos. This is he is a Belgian photographer. He was given authorization by the military, by the Russian military, to photographs in prisons and to take photographs in prisons and former labor camps in the Krasnoyarsk region of Siberia. Because unfortunately, Siberia is not only known for its natural beauty, but for the fact that it was that the Soviets took advantage of its very isolated characteristic, and they've built lots of gulags and prisons in there. These photos were taken in 2001. Even though the former gulag labor camps are now considered modern prisons, propaganda still plays a very major role on how outsiders can see these things. Based on the prison's reputation, the photographer was surprised to see the fact that, you know, they still resonated with the government. They still had some vibrance from the former gulags. They redecorated the former gulags, and they call it, like the prisoners call it, their own Disneyland, so to say. These photographies are just part of the propaganda. So prison authorities staged many of the photographs that you see. They had an influence on the scenes that they witnessed, that the photographer witnessed. This was meant to influence the public perception of the prisons, such as this picture. You know, this is supposed to be from a women's prison, and to show that the women prisoners are actually relaxing. But of course, you know how propaganda is a very big thing in Russia. So this is not true. They were even depicted as having a church, as having a tennis court. And the photographer actually asked, what is this for? And they said it's for the prisoners. And they immediately looked for 2 prisoners and had them play tennis in the tennis court. Of course, for them it was unnatural. It was not heard of. They didn't even find the tennis rackets in time, right? So when they were asked, well, what are you doing in this tennis court? Oh, they play tennis, of course. And it took them half an hour to locate the tennis rackets before they actually started playing. So the photographer depicts his experience like, you know, I was standing in there. They told me, yes, this is a tennis court used frequently by the prisoners. And they had to wait for more than an hour for them to actually find some tennis rackets. Of course, he was unable to say anything to them because his own life was in danger. And another negative aspect of Siberia is also the abandoned industrial buildings. This is a legacy of the Soviet Union in this part of the world. And it is located all throughout the region. An example are the ships from the Russian Federal Fleet, which sit in the former military base in a village just north of the Siberian city of Krasnoyarsk. Even though Russia says that it has reestablished its military presence there, it remained rather a mess when photojournalists went into the area. And they discovered just abandoned ships and buildings. Other examples, of course, are abandoned tank parks, overturned vehicles in snow, deserted military vehicles also across the region. This is pretty much abandoned military equipment. And because it was so, so isolated, it was hard for anyone to come across them and to actually see what was going on. Siberia is also known for its cold, for its desolation. And you truly have that feeling that absolutely no one is around you. So the Soviets did take good advantage of this aspect. I'm sorry if this part of history was a little bit more sad, but I feel it's important because it's part of what Siberia is today. But we'll move on onto more history of the city of Krasnoyarsk, right? Because we've traveled from, we are still on the Trans-Siberian Railway. And this city was founded in 1628 as a Russian border fort to protect the frontier from attacks by native people who lived along the Yenisei River. So remember the river that I showed you earlier was called Ob. This one is Yenisei River, and it has lots of tributaries. It is the 6th longest river in the world. And in the period of intensive growth of Krasnoyarsk, happened in the 18th century. And the railway actually connected Krasnoyarsk to the rest of Russia, and it's what made it. Provided its economic development. Of course, growth was a very important part of the city when they discovered gold resources. This city was the center of the Siberian Cossack movement as well, back in the 19th century. And by the end of that century, you could find several manufacturing facilities, railroad workshops, engine houses, and it's one of the places where all the political exiles were banished. Outside of the city, if you go on just a regular day hike, you can find Stolby Nature's Reserve. They say that if you've been to Krasnoyarsk but you haven't visited Stolby Mountains, you didn't really see the heart of the city. This is part of the UNESCO World Heritage today due to its very fascinating shaped rocks. This is just a phenomenon. It's created by nature. It has vertical stone pillars. This you can see it better. So it's just a dramatic complex of rocks. And visitors come here just to climb on these rocks because they look interesting. So we have Yenisei River. As I said, this part of the Trans-Siberian is considered to be the most beautiful because it is, you are pretty much at all times admiring beautiful nature and dramatic and epic views of the mountains, of the rivers, and of the forests surrounding the train. The trip takes almost entire day. And it is this river, it's also, as I said, one of the largest rivers in the world. Just so you, this is just another panorama of the river Yenisei. And of course, if you feel really, really courageous, you can always go on a river swim. A lot of the locals do that. So we are ready to leave Krasnoyarsk. We're getting ready to visit Irkutsk. So in the morning, after traveling for a full day, your train arrives in Irkutsk, and here you have the opportunity to visit Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal is the largest body of fresh water on Earth. And it has an average depth of 744 meters. That's more than 2,400 feet. It contains largely 20% of the world's surface fresh water. This is also called the Pearl of Siberia, or it's called the Baikal Sea, just for its sheer large size. And Lake Baikal is actually the deepest and among the clearest lake in the world. It's considered to be more than 25 million years old. It is the world's oldest lake, and it's home to more than 1,700 species of plants, animals, 2/3 of which only live here. They're found absolutely nowhere else on the planet. It is, of course, declared the UNESCO World Heritage today since 1996. And Lake Baikal is also home to specific cultures. In particular, the Buryat people. They follow the Tibetan Buddhist religions. They reside on the eastern side of the lake. This is a photo of them. Of course, they, as I said, they are Mongolian people. Their numbers are in the 500,000, so 500,000 of them, and they are part of the two largest indigenous groups in Siberia. The other one is the Yakuts. The majority of the Buryat people live here, this is their original homeland. And of course, it's considered part of Russia today. On your visit to Lake Baikal, you have the opportunity to visit their village and to interact with them. And of course, you can also visit Talti Museum. This is an ethnographical museum, consists of examples of Siberian wooden houses from the past centuries. Right now, I think they have 40 houses in total with 8,000 artifacts, all dating back to the 17th or the 19th century. They depict a style of houses that the local culture would use, such as the Buryat people or the Yakuts, and inside is just a typical traditional house and typical household items of that they would use. So actually, we are in Irkutsk. Irkutsk began as a small settlement in the mid-17th century. It was known for gold trading and for furriers. And it actually developed economically by introducing a fur tax from the Buryat people, right? So the people we've seen earlier, the Mongolians. The settlement officially became a town in 1686, and the first road between Moscow and Irkutsk was built in 1760. Here's a drawing depicting the furriers, right, and the transportation of the goods and how the road was construction. Many products that were often imported from China were widely available in Irkutsk for the first time, including gold, diamonds, furs, wood, silk, and of course, tea. This city developed so much that back in the 19th century, it became the seat of East Siberia. In the 19th century, many Russian officers and nobles were sent in exile in Irkutsk because they were part of the Decembrist revolt against Tsar Nikolai I. Because of this influx of people, the city had also become an intellectual center, right, and a cultural life, because these officers and nobles were of high education, and they brought this part of development into this side of Siberia. By the 1900s, it was quickly named the Paris of Siberia because of its intellectual life. And because your train, so you are here in Lake Baikal, the next morning leaves early towards Ulaanbaatar, the Mongolian capital city, you have the day to relax. So you have an opportunity to either just chill by the lake's shore, to sunbathe, or just admire the nature all around. You can visit the city. The schedule is up to you. The train waits for you in the train station. Outside of Lake Baikal, you will notice some mountains, and these are the Altai Mountains. They are considered one of the world's cradles of humanity. It is in these mountains that the scientists have discovered the remains of an unknown species of Homo sapiens, and the most ancient archaeological findings are more than 800,000 years old. They are home of the Denisovan humanoids. Maybe you've heard of them. They're contemporary with the Neanderthals and with the Homo sapiens, and they are considered the Switzerland of Siberia. They are located in the very heart of Russia. They are very close to the Russian border with Kazakhstan, with Mongolia, and with China. And as I said, Switzerland of Siberia, maybe Russian Tibet. Sometimes people do call it New Zealand because of their beauty and their strength. The highest point is here. It's this one, this one here. This is the Belukha mountain. It's 4,500 meters high. It's completely covered in snow from its peak to its bottom. a closer view of the Belukha mountain so that you can see that it's actually completely covered in snow. These are called the Golden Mountains of Altai, and they are part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site today. So we are getting ready to leave Russia and to move on towards the other country located on our Trans-Siberian railway journey today, and that is Mongolia. In Mongolia, you will have the opportunity to visit Ulaanbaatar. Of course, you're crossing from Irkutsk. So this is Lake Baikal, right? Crossing towards Mongolia, you will pass Ulan-Ude, and your stop is Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia. It takes 26 hours to get to the city, from Yekaterinburg, from here, at the beginning of Siberia. So you're crossing 16,000 kilometers through this region, and until you reach Ulaanbaatar. Now, this part of the Trans-Siberian Railway that crosses Mongolia has also a different name. It's called the Trans-Mongolian Railway, right? Because when you're crossing the countries, you are also changing the trains. The Trans-Mongolian Railway focuses on an ancient tea caravan route that came from China, and it connected Russia through Ulan-Ude, right? Ulan-Ude was the other Mongolian city. The construction of the railway actually started in 1947, and the photo that you see here is just a way to show how the trains need to change from Mongolia when they're going into China. The gauge of the train needs to be changed to adapt to the new sizes in the new country. The first thing that you will see when you're going into the Mongolian territories are, of course, nomadic Mongolian families and their yurts. And it's just typical living. Mongolians do love their yurts, and they do incorporate that in even when living in a city. As you can see from this photo, this is a photo from Mongolia's capital, the largest city with a population of over 1 million people. In the background, you see the financial district, the more modern part of the city. And on the outskirts, you have the houses that each has a yurt in their backyard. The city of Ulaanbaatar was initially founded in 1639 as a nomadic Buddhist monastic center. I am going to play a video. Let's see how loud it is.
With average year-round temperatures of 31.3 degrees Fahrenheit, with lows of -40 during winter, Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia is the world's coldest capital city. It's a place where urbanization and traditional ways of life sit side by side. Synonymous with fabulous cashmere, mind-bending contortionists, and eye-catching suburbs of traditional housing. So what's life like in the coldest capital on Earth? 60% of the city's growing population lives in the same kind of fabric-walled homes as their ancestors did. This type of house is called a gur. These residents are a hardy lot.
Чадварч явах хувьд монголчууд чинь угаасаа нүүдэлж арддаг юм уу? Эртнээс нааш 2-3 мянган жилээс нааш. Тэгээ бүгд дөрвөн үйлрлийн хүүтэн дулаандаа зогтсон яг байгалийнхаа тийм одоо жаягаараа иддэг хоол, хүнс бидний өмсөж байгаа хувцас бүгд дөрвөн үйлрэлдээ зогтсон. Тийм болохоор энийг ерөөс ажихгүй давж байгаа монгол хүн.
Some even enjoy the cold.
Тэгдэг хүүтэн байвал их сайн. Хүүтэнгээр нэг үйлрэлсээ өөдөө хүчтэй тэгээд сайн. Гадаа их явал сайн хүүтэнд явал их сайн.
Surviving the bitter winters in Ulaanbaatar, especially for those in gurs, means that locals rely heavily on wood and coal. Mining is a major industry in the region, but the long-term effects of coal reliance are taking their toll on the environment. At the end of 2016, air pollution was 80 times the recommended safety level set by the World Health Organization. But there is hope. A new project is underway to clean up the air of Ulaanbaatar and has made substantial progress so far. Installing wind farms and replacing traditional stoves, with low-emission alternatives to help curb the use of fossil fuels, has already started to improve air quality. It's hoped that measures like these will preserve the beauty of this awe-inspiring place for future generations.
So this video gives you a taste of what Ulaanbaatar is today. You've seen it with its good and its bad. But before the modern city, in 1778, the present location was, it was full of especially Buddhist monks and monastery workers. It started off with a population of 25,000, and it grew from then on to what you see today. Now, the actual spelling of the city is Ulaanbaatar. So you see double A's on each word. And the city adopted this name in 1924 when Mongolia was declared the People's Republic. Then they took the name Red Hero. So the direct translation of Ulaanbaatar is Red Hero, right? Because of the Soviet help that they've received. Now, today, Ulaanbaatar is an economic and cultural center of the country. It is the largest city, as I've mentioned. The rest of the country is pretty much located, is full of nomadic tribes. And it has a number of noteworthy historical monuments that are worth visiting if you're stopping here on your Trans-Siberian Railway. The first one, and my favorite one, is the Gandan Kid Monastery. This is the largest Buddhist monastery of Mongolia. It has enchanting ceremonies held every day, and it has the statue of Bodhisattva, right? So the statue of Buddha is the largest indoor statue of Buddha in the world. It's 26.5 meters high, and it contains 2,286 precious stones, 27 tons of medicinal plants, 334 sutras, and 2 million mantras. So it is breaking records in different aspects. After the monastery, a good place to start visiting Ulaanbaatar is Sukbaatar Square. This is the central square. It features an equestrian statue of Damdin Sukbaatar. He is the one that declared Mongolia's independence from China in 1921. In the north part of the statue, the large gray building is the state parliament house. And next to it, there's an equestrian statue of Genghis Khan. We will talk about him later. All of the cultural and political events and festivals are held in this central square. This is the Genghis Khan. Another Genghis Khan statue is one of the top landmarks of tourists visiting Ulaanbaatar today. Very few people come to Mongolia without visiting this statue. It's 40 meters high. It is a silver Genghis Khan statue constructed from stainless steel in 2008. Of course, it was done from private funding. It is just a way to show their gratitude towards Genghis Khan, the most popular and most known Mongolian leader, the one that expanded the Mongolian Empire. It was built here because, as the legend says, this is where Genghis Khan found a golden whip to lead his hordes. Another beautiful location is the Bogd Khan Winter Palace Museum. It was built between 1893 and 1903, so 19th century. This is where the Mongolia's 8th living Buddha and last king lived for 20 years. There are 6 temples on its grounds, and each of them contains Buddhist artwork. From Mongolia, there's normally a straight ride all the way to Beijing. Beijing is the capital city. So Ulaanbaatar, you're crossing the borders here in Erlian and you're going straight to Beijing without other stops. A direct route takes 30 hours to travel in between Mongolia and Ulaanbaatar and Beijing, your final destination aboard the Trans-Siberian. So, of course, the first thing you see when you arrive in Beijing, the capital city of China, is the Beijing railway station, which was opened in 1959. It was, at the time, the largest train station in the country. Of course, the Chinese have built several other train stations in the city since then. And it is very impressive due to its towers. Now, Beijing is a global city. It's one of the world's leading centers for culture, diplomacy, politics, business, economics, education, whatever you want. Recently, they have reached another record, and that record is that it has the largest number of billionaires in the world. Is located here in Beijing. This is the home to the headquarters of most of China's largest state-owned companies. Of course, you know, China is a communist country, and it hosts. It houses the largest number of Fortune 500, global 500 companies in the world. This is a panorama of the Forbidden City in Beijing. Is one of the more iconic things that you will find out about Beijing. And in front of it is the Tiananmen Square. The Tiananmen Square is known for its revolution, for its bloody massacre from 1989. I do not want to leave you on a very sad note, so I will tell you about some very beautiful locations in China that you can visit while being in Beijing. And of course, the most popular landmark is the Great Wall of China. This is instantly recognizable. Everyone knows about it. It was built in the 7th century before Christ. The majority of the existing wall was constructed during the Ming dynasty, and the whole wall has more than 21,000 kilometers in length. It was built to protect the country from invaders that came from the north, especially northern nomadic groups of the Eurasian steppe. Another beautiful palace, Yihe Yuan, if I'm not pronouncing this correctly, do pardon me. It's an impressive complex of gardens, of lakes, of palaces and temples built throughout the course of many dynasties. It spreads out to more than 290 hectares, which is like 716 acres. And the work on the summer palace started in the 12th century, and it was finally finished 600 years later. 3/4 of this complex of gardens is water. So its original name was Gardens of Clear Ripples. Lastly, we have the Temple of Heaven. This was constructed in the 15th century. It took 14 years to complete, and it's considered the Temple of Heaven because it's a complex, impressive, palatial building. It was done also during the Ming dynasty, and it is popular because it looks very solemn and very impressive. It is a prayer. The prayer circular vaults are the main focal attraction point, and it is part of the UNESCO World Heritage today. And lastly, this is a farewell scene in Russia, a detail of the reserves that were sent to the Far East on the Trans-Siberian Railway. And I do not want to leave you without showing another video of
an expedition into a world as of yet unknown to me. On a journey of around 5,000 miles, my dream comes true. But in this diversity of cultures, how to define myself? And if I succeed, will I be then closer to God? Is then identification my first need? Where is the beginning of things, and why do they end? As the curtain of the monetary calls falls and the core comes to the fore, I'm like a star, illuminating from inside. But what will suffice to understand the vastness of the world? I know that I know nothing. I need the primordial, the pristine. Its vision drives me on. And now I can find my place wherever I come. Nearer and nearer draws the time that shall surely be, when the earth shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. To be one with what I'm doing is essential because the reason why I'm doing it is simple, and this simplicity guides me through the complexity of the world. Here I am, a hopeful seed. I have become the purpose of mystery, and the pulse of life reveals. Mile by mile I let go of egoism. It is joy, and a freedom I've never felt before. All that we do can have no worth unless God bless the deed. Some rights in life aren't as easy as they look. But here's to a new definition of me. And it carries me onward to something I would not have called success before. This has been a dream my whole life. And now I'm here. I see now the aim is not truth, but empirical adequacy. It's maybe time to let go of our worries and things and just be. And yet I found the greatest kingdom here. Among ourselves.
So you might have noticed that I chose to end with this video because it takes you on a reverse journey aboard the Trans-Siberian. We started in Moscow and we finished in Beijing. And by watching this video, you went back from Beijing all the way to Moscow. And it was just a way to review all the cities that we've seen together virtually this time, hopefully physically, who knows, if it's possible. And I hope you enjoyed it. It is more of an experience. It just transmits a feeling this time of what it feels to be aboard the Trans-Siberian, because I do believe that it's one of the few authentic experiences that you can still go on today while traveling that still maintains that flavor of the country that you're passing through. So with that being said, thank you for being with us tonight. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Georgiana. That was a wonderful expedition. I actually think that I need to put a train tour on my on my list, on my bucket list to see. I'm not sure exactly. Now we've done the Mystery on the Orient Express. We've done the Trans-Siberian Express. We have wonderful train tours in the United States as well. So I'm going to have to pick one to get it on our list. So now's the time to go to the Q&A. We've had some questions come through in the chat and in the Q&A feature, so I'll give you a minute to look at them. And for the rest of the participants, I've put up a slide for you on the right-hand side to show you some of our real-life physical tours that we are booking up right now. So if you'd like to join Girl Travel Tours in our group on any of those tours, feel free to chat me or send me an email at marawalsh@gmail.com, and I'll provide you with the details on that. In the meanwhile, we're going to transition over to the Q&A, and I'm going to give Georgiana the mic again, and we are going to take some of the questions and field them while we have some people still on the line. So I'm ready when you are.
Perfect. I have also shared in the chat the link to the quiz. So if you want to join me, as you know, if you've joined me before on virtual tours, I like to do quizzes. So if you want to test yourself, test the knowledge that you've learned through this virtual tour, do fill in the quiz. There is a prize. So the prize consists of a book. It is called To the Edge of the World, the Story of the Trans-Siberian Express. And this time we will only choose one winner. So good luck if you are curious to fill in the quiz, and I will look over the questions in the Q&A now. So, oh, sorry, something is happening here. Okay. So where is the bed on the train? Inside the compartments.
I think that might have been, I'm not sure if that came about when you were talking about the staff or if that was for the travelers.
I'm not sure. If you choose the second class cabin, but are only 2 people traveling together, what happens with the other 2 empty berths? Do you pay an extra fee for those beds being empty, or does the railroad fill the other 2 beds with other people, not with you? So the answer is depends on you. If you do not want anyone else with you inside the cabin, yes, you will have to pay an extra fee. If you want to meet new people, yes, the train will sell the other beds. Is there smoking allowed on board the train? If so, is that everywhere or only in limited areas? So this is a discretionary situation. As you've seen in the videos, people do smoke in between the train cars. So technically next to the door. When I got first interested in the Trans-Siberian in the 1980s, the restaurant car worked on Moscow time throughout the journey, regardless of the local time. Is this still the case? I do not know, but I will look it up and check it for you. Yes, if you ride in the first class, may you dine in the dining car instead of your room if you wish. Thank you. Yes, yes. Traveling first class, you can also dine inside or in the restaurant. Where do the employees shower? They don't. I don't know. They just use the wash basin. I am also surprised to see that the train is electrically powered. Was it always electric since its beginning? No, it did not start off offering electricity as an amenity inside the cabins. Do any of the trains offer Wi-Fi? Yes, the luxury trains do offer Wi-Fi. What is the name of the luxury train company you mentioned? Tararkaya. Let me type in the answer here. Okay. How do these trains compare to the Orient Express? Is the Orient back in service? Yes, so there is Venice Simplon Orient Express that runs. It is a private train. It is a luxury train. So it compares in the sense that you can go on the private experience aboard the Trans-Siberian with the Tararkaya that I showed to you. The Orient Express used to have its regular trains, just like the Rossiya train that I've showed you in the beginning, but that stopped in 2007. Do we need special visa to ride in Russia, China, and Mongolia? I think it depends on where you come from. Who were the people on Nazino Island and why were they sent there? So they were deportees. They were sent there to be punished. How did they insulate these wooden houses? That's a question that I will have to research the answer for. What does this train trip cost? It depends. So for example, if you're going for the direct rides, it can be a little bit more expensive, a couple of hundreds of dollars. If you're traveling like the locals, of course, it is much, much cheaper. So if you're going for the third class, but yeah, the first class and the second class will set you behind some hundreds of dollars. Yes, if you want to get off the train and spend a day or two in several towns, you need to schedule that ahead of time. So the way it works, you have to purchase tickets for each of the for each side that you're traveling separately. So say you're traveling from Moscow to Yekaterinburg, you're going down in Yekaterinburg, spend 2 days. You have to purchase the ticket Moscow, Yekaterinburg, and then another ticket Yekaterinburg to the other city that you plan to go off on. So it does not work that you buy a Moscow Beijing train from the beginning and then you can use that as a hop on, hop off. Hi, thank you for all the wonderful history and information today. We really enjoyed everything. We are a family of 5. Are there adjoining cabin rooms aboard the train so we can travel together? I'm pretty sure you can reserve the cabins so that they are one next to the other, but I don't think that they necessarily communicate. The Tarangold is a lot more than just a couple of hundreds of dollars. That is true. That one, because it's a private train, it goes on all the way to $2,000 and more dollars. I was talking about the Rossiya train, the one that has first, second, and the third class. Will there still be virtual tours next year? I think, Mara, that is for you.
Yes, we are looking to put in our 2022 lineup. So I'm talking to guides and tour directors now, and we're getting those scheduled.
I thought the railway ended in Vladivostok, not Beijing. Is there another trip that does that? Yes, so it can also end in Vladivostok. It can also end in Beijing. It branches out once you come out of Russia. No question, just a big thank you. Thank you for joining us tonight too. Mongolia, and it was fabulous. You brought back great memories. I'm not sure if we still have among us, but at the beginning when you shared the poll, Mara, asking if they've ever been on to Trans-Siberian, there was one person that answered that they have a Trans-Siberian booked, and I was curious, when exactly are they planning on going? If you book a fare from Moscow to Beijing and plan to ride straight through, are you able to hop off at the major city to sightsee, or would you have to deboard and get another train? I think I've already answered this. I'm filling in the quiz, and this question only lets you pick one capital, not all 3. It's already updated now. So if you should refresh the quiz and it should work. Sightseeing included in the train ticket, depending on which train you're riding on. So if you're riding the regular, the Rossiya train, sightseeing is not included. If you're riding on the Tarangold, sightseeing trips can be included in your price. How many days do you recommend from start, overnight stays to finish to take? Well, it's really up to you. So the journey, if you go straight through, is like 7 days. If you were to spend 2 days in each town, maybe at least 2 weeks or more. Does the YE in the beginning of Yekaterinburg mean anything? It's just the Russian spelling of the name. What are the requirements and restrictions on baggage? I'm pretty sure you can find that when you book your tickets online. I do not know in particular right now How many passengers are on an average trip? I don't know. It depends on the time of the year, I guess, if it's a busy train or not. It can be, for example, there are 54 berths in the third class, so you have 54 people there in just a single car. And if there are more cars like that, hundreds. And I think that's it. We do have another question about the quiz. I booked Vladivostok to Moscow for May 2020, but guess what? Yes, so I guess that's what happened. I was doing to Atlantic without going via North America. Yeah. Well, did you manage to rebook it? What about wheelchair accessibility? I'm pretty sure the private train does have wheelchair accessibility. I'm not sure about the other one. Best time to visit. For example, wintertime is an amazing time to visit. Also summertime, yeah, if you want to admire beautiful nature all around. Thanks for another great tour. Thank you. Mara,
Well, I was going to say the same. The shoulder seasons are always great to travel anywhere, right? When you're avoiding the crowds of the summer, the spring and the fall are wonderful. If you like the cold weather, it's always nice to see that season as well. I think you've wrapped up the questions pretty well. I think that we can wrap up this tour. It's 6:45 my time, so we are into it more than 2 hours. I want to thank you, Georgiana, again for bringing us another region of the world, and your transportation tours are always great, and I appreciate them. I know, like I said earlier, I've got to put a train on my list now to do a train tour and hop off. I want a hop on, hop off tour, though. I don't want a straight through tour. So I'll have to work that out somehow. Thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And we will see you next week for Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. Take care.